All righty, Mary Alice. I think we've got majority in. I will keep letting them in, but we are ready whenever you are.
You're my bouncer, letting people into the
Absolutely.
party
Yes.
here,
Whatever
right?
you need. Anything you need.
All right, everyone. Welcome. Good to see everybody again. We are here to talk about effective influencing and asking for what you want. So my objective today is to build the toolkit, right? And this conversation about influencing and negotiating, asking for what you want, I'm going to kind of blend them together here, is really a critical capability. It's critical in terms of your ability to get your job done, because so many of us need to get work done through others, connect with other people, stakeholders, move resources around, a thousand things we're doing. Your ability to influence is critical there, as well as for career advancement. Your ability to influence is really strong. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Um, Mary Alice Callahan, part of the Shambach team, in case anybody's new on the call today, been part of the team for a good 15 plus years. I'll be playing with you. I'll be working with you today. Well, maybe we will play a little bit. Working with you today, our previous session, and then Nancy and Becky are going to join you in Chicago, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But here you are, you beautiful bunch of women. And I want to take a minute and talk about how I stalked you all a little bit. So remember last time we got together, I talked about strategic relationships, and we every single one of you walked out with a personalized action plan. Here are the people I need to talk to, with very specific, here's my intentions, here's what I'm going to do. And I mentioned, this is your ability to kind of speak to, walk the talk of your brand, and don't forget to get that into LinkedIn. So I didn't have your all's email, so I just started plugging in your names. And one of the things I noticed is you don't have pictures up. Very few of you have pictures up, and I can see some of you going, yeah, that's me. That's me. And when I had this part of the slide deck, I'm like, get these pictures into your LinkedIn, peoples, right? When people are on LinkedIn, right, and it's whether you're posting to for social media reasons, getting the word out, looking for resources, highlighting successes, or whatever, a visual goes a long way. So memo to self, boop, you got all these great photos. Get that into your LinkedIn. I also stalked a little bit on your LinkedIn and how you described yourself, and not bad here. It's nice to see some traction going on. I'm going to continue to stalk you because it's just something I like to do. And so do me a favor. If you have any questions like, hey, MA, that's my nickname. How could I say X? Feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to help kind of brainstorm with you and tailor your messages and things like that. Okay. So that's one of the things we're going to kind of talk about as we move forward here today. So here's been the program, right? We are on our fourth virtual session here, asking for what you want and influencing. And that's what we're going to be zeroing in on today. Jackie, I'm going to turn the mic over to you in 2 secs here, is going to talk to you about the in-person Chicago meeting, which is going to be just off the charts great. So Jackie, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to see you. I'm Jackie with Professional Plastics, and I'm chair of the Women in Plastics program. Before we get started, I just wanted to share quick reminders about the upcoming Chicago capstone event that we're all very excited for. Can't believe we were just talking, it's already July and how fast this program has gone. I hope everyone's been enjoying it as much as we have so far. We're looking forward to seeing you all there, and we're going to kick it off with a Wednesday night welcome reception. It's at a local brewery, just a couple minute walk from our hotel where we're staying. Everyone here is already registered, but we do encourage you guys to invite others to join, colleagues, leaders, other coworkers who might be in the area that want to attend it. It's a great opportunity to introduce the program, to get new participants for next year. It's also a great opportunity to network with others in the industry. Please note the reception is from 5 to 7. We'll have a few kind of activities going on there, so we'd love to have everyone there for the full time. After that, you guys can make reservations for dinner and go and do things on your own. But the welcome reception will have some light drinks and snacks for you guys. Let's see here. Also, today is the last day to reserve your hotel block for the hotels in Chicago. It is definitely a considerable savings because I looked at both rates because my hotel block wasn't working at first. So just please note if you want to get on that block to go ahead and get your hotel booked. Let's see here. I think that is everything on my list. Any questions on the hotel block? If you have issues, reach out to Lauren like I did. She'll take care of it and get things squared away for you. And with that, I will turn it over to Mary Alice, and I look forward to seeing you all in Chicago.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for the Cliff Notes, that commercial for what the upcoming event, which is going to be outstanding. All right. So let's kind of get into it. Here we're talking about influencing and things like that. But I like to kind of pull the learning through each of the sessions here. And last time we got together, we talked about strategic relationships, and we talked about how much value they truly are in terms of our ability to succeed in our job, get resources, survive. And we talked about the framework for really having purpose and intention. What do those conversations look like? And getting confident about talking about yourself. I gave you all the homework assignment to kind of tailor that, get a little, shine that up a little bit and get out there. And you all had partners to kind of work with and kind of move you along. So let's open it up to a big conversation. Who here was bold and got out there and started tapping into some strategic relationships? Opening it up. Just do a little. Sonia,
I did.
go for it.
I'm like, I did. Um, I was a little last minute, but I did it. I reached out to my friend Heidi, who was in my breakout room last time, and also Lisa, who I heard is unfortunately no longer with us. However, she was in my breakout group as well, Lisa from Norplex. And it was great. I just reached out to Heidi and let her know where I was at, and what internal networking I had done, which I reached out to two people within my own organization that I was super excited to reach out and ask them for some mentorship. And one was a colleague who has only been with the company a shorter amount of time and a lot younger than me. And one is a colleague who has been very experienced. And I just went to them and said, hey, I really respect one just had really polished PowerPoints all the time, every time she presents. So I said, hey, can you teach me how you do that? Because I would love for my PowerPoints to look like that. And the other colleague, I just let her know, like, she's so relevant in technology, and she's our director of marketing, and she knows like applications and technology. And I just reached out and said, hey, what do I need to learn to stay relevant? I'm 52
Good
years old, but I
job.
want to work like I'm 32 years old. And, I want to stay relevant and not use all these old archaic, methods that I'm familiar with. So it was great. I was super excited with the outcome, and very
Thanks
excited
for
to reach
sharing.
out.
That is awesome. You had purpose, intention. I'm here to learn some new things. You're great at that. Hey, give me some of that. Tell me, what do I need to be doing, right? Oh, nice
Yeah.
job. All right. Somebody else, tell me who kind of dabbled into this. Erin, go for it.
So I actually have two Zoom scheduled with two different people that'll be happening end of this week and next week. But I chose people within my organization that have been on similar career paths as me, but in different roles. So someone who started as an inside sales rep and has worked their way up into management. That's where I started. And then also another person within my organization who is managing two different teams. I manage two different teams that, so I kind of want to know a little bit about their leadership style. How are they pivoting? How are they working with two different teams, two different dynamics? So that's what I want to take away, but also to build that rapport within my own company and my fellow employees that I don't talk to every day. So I feel like now it could build a bond, so we can mentor each other and kind of be a sounding board for one another after this. So
Yeah, it's not a one and done. Like, keep it going. Exactly. Right. It's so how are you feel? Are you feeling confident about reaching out to them and got
Oh,
some kind of
absolutely.
structure to it?
And they were both so excited that I reached out. Like, I think they're anxious to hear a little bit about what I'm experiencing too. Because sometimes we think, are we on our own little island? We're not. I think it may be a breath of fresh air for both of us to have that open conversation. So,
That is a great statement. Just we're not on our own little islands. We feel that way, but we're really not. And all you needed to do is like send that email saying, hey, I'd like to talk to you about X, and boop, the islands come together, right? Awesome. All right, one more person. Anybody else have dabble into strategic relationships? Got something on the calendar? Still on a to-do list here, I hope. All right, good. All right. And so feel free, well, actually, you all are going to be getting together here in a blink of an eye in Chicago. Talk to each other about this. And remember, what is Chicago about? What a great networking opportunity. What a great networking opportunity. Okay. All right. So keep the momentum going on that. And thanks for sharing progress to date. All right. Here we're going to talk about the art and science of effective influencing and negotiations. I went to Harvard and MIT's program on negotiations, which is like a week long and very intense. And I'm going to be sharing with you the key tips that I took away that were game changers for me. Okay. And influencing and negotiations kind of go hand in glove with each other. Because if you think about influencing, is changing somebody's thought process. Negotiating is working to an endpoint. So the two definitely work hand in glove with each other. And there's definitely an art and a science associated with it. I'm going to be sharing with you the framework, and then we're going to be talking about the art, the kind of the nuances, the words you choose, how you message things that are kind of the art that pulls it all together. So that's what we're going to work on. All right. So make sure everybody's got your learner's guide in front of you, because we're going to start getting into some business here. All right, so let me ask you a question. How many of you, and let's just do a raise of the hand, of the course of your career, how many of you asked for a change in a role, a promotion, a raise proactively? So just give me a little high five. How many of you have like very proactively done that? Okay. All right, good handful. How many of you feel like, you know what, I kind of feel like my career is kind of progressed on its own, where I wasn't necessarily in the driver's seat? Have any of you kind of felt that way? Got a few on that. Hey, and I was there too. I was there until I realized, wait, I don't have to wait for it to happen. I can be in the driver's seat for this. And that's kind of what part of what this conversation is all about, is how do I become more in the driver's seat for these conversations and be effective in them? Okay. And the reasons why it's really important to build this capability of asking for what you want is for reasons like being able to close the pay gap, establish authority, build confidence. This is about influencing and asking for what you want. Building this capability helps close pay gaps, if you're talking about salaries and things like that. It establishes authority. It builds confidence. It can expand your resources, and it definitely shapes your career growth. All the more reason I kind of teed up this conversation about how important this skill set is as we move forward. So when we think about that and why this is a kind of a women's program, is at Shambo, we really zone in on this one because of some statistics behind this. 32% of women versus 49% of men negotiated their compensation within the last 2 years. Okay. 55% of the men who negotiated versus, 42% of the women who negotiated achieved exactly what they wanted. And what's interesting is women who negotiate for others usually get what they asked for. Our research has said that women are not very good about asking for what they want. We are great about taking care of others and asking for things for our team, but asking for ourselves is a little bit more problematic. I want you to think about that. What about that top line? What is the problem when we don't negotiate, let's just say for compensation? What's the problem associated with that? Anybody? Just give me a raised hand. Go for it.
We don't get paid.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It's exponential. Because if out of the gate, our male colleagues are negotiating and we're not, exponentially, it's problematic. Okay. But it's so interesting because women, when they ask for things for other people, get it, but we're reticent about asking it for ourselves. So today, my friends, is about I call it the chiropractic adjustment about how we look at this. Okay. If you don't ask, you don't get. Mental telepathy does not work. So let's do a poll question here. Lauren's going to be my captain on this one here. Why don't we ask? So do me a favor, plug in your responses here. All right. We're landing in kind of shared responses here. Don't want to rock the boats a little bit. Fear of rejection. What if they say no? Assume if we work hard, someone will notice and reward us. If I had $1 of every time a woman thought that, I'd be a very rich woman here. Isn't that true? We tend to assume, but assuming doesn't make things happen, right? Failure to research our own value and make others aware. That's why we talk about the brand statement, being able to talk about yourself, being really confident, being on your A game so that others do know what your value is. And think about it. We're all going 1,000 miles an hour. Decision makers on some of these things are going 1,000 miles an hour. They might not remember all of our accomplishments. We need to own that. We need to be able to speak to it. So, all right, good. Thanks for sharing. All right, that's the poll question here. Whoops. Let me go back to that. Get rid of that poll. There we go. All right. So I want to tee up a little case study, if you will. So do me a favor, everybody turn to page 3 in your learner's guide here. And I've got a scenario. Susan. So Susan's worked in the same area for 5 years. She's received excellent performance reviews and numerous awards. She's considered a subject matter expert, has a good relationship with her boss, has not received a promotion or change in level in several years here. She decides to go ask for her boss for a promotion or maybe a raise in her pay scale. Schedules a meeting with her boss and tells what she wants and why she deserves it. Her boss says there's a freeze on all promotions. How many of you have heard a freeze on promotions in your lifetime? Right. We've all had flavors that too much going on with the org is changing, something's going on, right? So her boss says there's a freeze on all promotions, but assures her that she's doing a great job and that she's appreciated by the entire organization. She leaves the meeting feeling like she's the victim of kind of bad timing in making her request. So let's kind of play around with this. I'm going to put you into breakouts here, and I want you on the lower page of page 3 here in your breakouts, answer these questions. How could Susan have been more effective in making her request? Okay, so you got the slide on your learner's guide here. So think about what she might have done differently and what might have been her backup plan. Okay, so we're all going to be Monday morning quarterbacks for poor Susan here. Let me go put you all into breakouts. Oops, where'd the breakouts go? Breakout rooms. All right. All right. All right, ladies, put on your seatbelts. I'm going to put you in your breakout rooms. And for the next, let's say 5 minutes, go put together Susan, you should have done X, Y, and Z. All right, breakout rooms are open. By the way, anybody who's not on camera, please do come on camera if you can. This makes it better.
I feel like they should have our pictures around the center projection rather than to the side.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, wouldn't that be great, right? If it framed it kind of thing. Yeah, much easier. Yeah.
Actually, the Brady Bunch pictures.
I know, because I put you all up because I want to make sure who's raising hands and things, and then it blocks all my content. So I'm like all right, ladies, let's be armchair quarterbacks for Susan. All right, anybody open it up. First question, how could Susan have been more effective in making her request? Who wants to talk? Rachel.
Oh,
Rachel, go ahead.
I think she was relatively effective. I think the only thing that I maybe would have suggested doing different is instead of a promotion or a raise, go in and say, that she feels she deserves the promotion and why. And have it kind of like succinctly asking for one thing rather than, hey, I'd just like to get more money.
Got it. Right. Because the money thing always gets people a little like weird every now and then, right? And so promotion, right? And then I'll even talk about, I'm going to throw this out. I'm going to throw it out now in case I forget it. Sometimes the word promotion can trigger people with managers, with senior people, okay? Phrase it as expand my responsibilities, expand my ability to impact the business. So lead with the business relevance of it versus the promotion. And that just opens the conversation up a little bit more. You're going to talk about the promotion that goes along with it, but it starts with the business impact, okay? All right. So tease those two apart. Give me another one. Who's something else that Susan could have done differently.
Well, in our group, we decide that come prepared of what she needs in terms of amount of money and what she has been done that will help the organization and how she can deserve that money extra. And if it doesn't work because they say, oh, we are freeze right now, have a backup plan of, okay, when we can talk about it in the next 3 months, 1 week, 6 weeks, whatever is the time frame that we can revise the position that you are now, and maybe we can take
Got it.
serious again the conversation.
So I heard you saying two things. One, make sure she's got substance behind, here are my accomplishments, right? That she can really speak to it. And then part B, if she hears the freeze part, then it's followed with a, okay, this conversation isn't going away. When can we follow up with it? Put some
Exactly.
more icing on the cake, ladies. What else could she have done differently here?
Just to tag onto that real quick, I always said too, to come with your list of accomplishments, don't assume your boss knows everything you've accomplished. Right?
Exactly.
Don't assume they know everything you've done. And we've talked about the work journaling before, but they come with that and say, like, when as soon as they shut you down, to say, I'm not sure if you realize, and then, share what you've done. So don't always assume they know, because they don't.
Exactly. Mental telepathy does not work. That's going back to my comment of they're going 1,000 miles an hour too. And just to grab onto that, your accomplishments, how your accomplishments have impacted the business. At the end of the day, compensation is based on impact. Okay, so get really comfortable with that piece of it. What else could Susan have brought into this conversation?
I would just like to add one thing. So she has a really good relationship with her boss, right? I would hope that her boss sees that potential, because it also reflects on her boss too. If your employee excels and moves up, that means you're a good manager. So I would ask, yes, there's a freeze. I understand. What can I do between now and this point in time to work on my skills, to build my skills to the next level? And I feel like that could also bring them closer to professionally between a boss or
Great point. Great point. And so true, right? If you're known for developing people who move up the ladder in their career, right? It's because you're doing a great job, right? Great point. What could Susan, we weren't in the room, so we don't know exactly what she said. What homework could Susan have done before she went into this meeting? Aside from her accomplishments and getting comfortable with that. Oh, Christy, what's all the love going on over there? Did you see that?
No.
I did. I don't know. I'm playing around with the reactions, but Erin was in my group and she made that point, and all of us were just nodding as she was saying it, because I think that is very impactful. But the one extra thing that I discussed was asking those curious, open-ended questions during that meeting to gain understanding of business growth, where they want to go, and how you're a part of that based off of what you've done, and that you can be a partner in continuing that growth. So that way, when there is an opportunity to have a budget or available funds for pay increase, you helped make that happen, and so then you show that you're value add.
There you go. There you go. To throw some other thoughts out there, tapping into strategic relationships, pulling that thread through. She might have known about this. She maybe should have known about the freeze ahead of time. And that could be through strategic relationships with HR, right? So think about that. How well did she articulate her value in terms of her compensation level? Strategic relationships. What is your capability, your level of responsibility? What's the value of that in other organizations? Being able to bring that into the conversation. So there's some homework going on. We don't know whether she did it or not, but these are all the things that make influencing and asking for what you want even more effective. And we're going to start tapping into those with this art and science of it here. So I want to share with you why negotiations and influencing falls apart. In the ideal world, okay, it starts with a problem, right? I'm looking for resources. I'm looking to change career aspirations, compensate, whatever it is you're asking for here. There's a preferred situation. It starts with a problem. Ideally, you go into analysis mode. You gather information. That's kind of like my comment I just mentioned about, what is my role? What's the compensation in other organizations? How long is somebody typically in this role, right? So gather information. Problem, gather information. You then think about what are some different approaches you're going to take. You might enlist some coaches, build a plan, socialize it, get more kind of vet kind of the things you're looking for here. And then you go into action mode. You actually have the conversation. That's the ideal way. What normally happens, we go from, I have a problem, I want to go talk about it. How many of you, raise up hands, have gone in and asked your manager or senior person, or whoever it is you're looking to influence for something, and they say something that you're like, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. And you go back. And then all of a sudden you're back in your office or driving home or whatever, and you're thinking, wait a second, I have a response to that. And you want to go back, right? This is about not being prepared. And that's what we're all talking about today, is how do I do this model of something I'm looking for? What's my analysis? How am I going to approach it? And what's my action mode? How do I get tidy on this so that I'm more effective? Okay. The biggest mistakes that women make are not seeing situations as opportunities to negotiate. We tend to hear an answer and go with it versus, wait, maybe there's an opportunity to negotiate. Talked about it earlier, not negotiating for themselves like they would for somebody else, taking no and walking away, thinking it's a one conversation, and not being prepared, not having a rebuttal, a follow-up that you hadn't prepared for. So these are the classic ones. Which one, let's call them 1, 2, 3, or 4, drop in the chat box, which one of those would you say you index on a little bit when it comes to some of these mistakes that we can make? Just do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2, 4. Yep, we're all over the board on this one here. Well, good. This is a little bit of an open the hood opportunity to say, what are the things we need to be mindful about before we go in here? Because the fact of the matter is, there's nothing that we can't do here. If we've got a framework and we prepare for it and we dot our I's and cross our T's and we're confident in what we're going to be doing, our likelihood of success is going to be a lot greater. So here's the framework, okay? It starts with the right narrative. A little bit of the what I started here, the things we need to be careful about, right? That kind of our mental models, if you will, our roadblocks. Having the right narrative. We need to follow with the right narrative with being prepared, right? Creating options, thinking about multiple solutions. How could I go about, what are some different options what might be here? Don't lock in with one thing. People who are very strong at influencing are able to come up with variations of things. We determine our approach. You all had a pre-work to kind of assess what is your classic kind of go-to style when it comes to influencing and negotiations. We tend to lean into that style a little bit, and sometimes that can be problematic. We need to be able to adapt to the person we're talking to here. And then how do I actually go into that conversation? I'll share with you that 80% of negotiations is spent on preparation. So 80% are these first 3 things here. And it's not to say that 80% is going to take 6 hours to prepare for it. Once you start building this muscle, it just becomes your new thought process here. But when you do pause, I know that if I need to go into a big influence, I'm looking to really impact somebody's thought process or actually kind of negotiate something. If I can't put pen to paper on it and kind of go through this model that I'm going to be sharing with you, I don't go into that conversation because I'm just not going to be as successful as I could be here. All right, so let's roll up our sleeves. Given that model, the key factors that we need to bring to the table is 1, defining some potential outcomes. Notice I say plural. There are multiple potential outcomes. Having a good understanding of my interests and their interests. I'm really pumping the brakes and thinking through what are all the things that are important to me to solve for this. And then I'm thinking about the other individual, what's important to them. I start thinking creatively. What are some options that could be addressing some of these interests that we have? And what are some potential trade-offs? I need to think about the options that I put forward. Do they have a sense of legitimacy? So for instance, just off the top of my head, let's say you're going to talk about salary increase or promotion. Legitimacy factors might be people in this role tend to be in my role for 3 years before they advance to the next position. I'm at the 3-year mark. So it's like the facts that you're bringing to the table here. That creates a sense of credibility that helps your influencing as well. I'm going to tailor my approach and approach it collaboratively. It's not a one and done conversation. It's a dialogue. And I'm going to shape that conversation to be effective with this individual and really give some thought to what's my messaging behind every potential option. These are the soft skills you need to bring to the table when it comes to influencing here. And we're going to start playing around with all of them here. So the takeaway here is influencing starts before the conversation. Everything we talked about here is this 80% kind of preparation that's going on. So let's start peeling into it. Having the right narrative. How many of you, when you go into, oops, what happened there? Did your slide go away? There we go. Everybody see the slide? Oh,
Yes.
my Zoom is being funny now. I can't see you all. Oh, that's hold on a
Might
second.
be a tab at the top of your Zoom. Sometimes the tabs get.
I see the slides, but you all went away. What a bummer. Layout? No. All right. I'm going to be flying blind here. All right. Having the right narrative. So this is, think about any of you who you have a big influence in front of you or big negotiation. What's your frame of mind? Are you looking at it like she looks like, oh, this is a problem? Or are you looking at it as, hey, this is going to be a good thing, right? So I just look at influencing and negotiating. I'm just solving a problem. And everybody on this call here is smart. So your ability to solve problems, you do it day in and day out. That's all this is all about here. And also to be thinking positively about the outcome, right? And knowing that, hey, if I'm prepared, this is going to have a better outcome here. So having the right narrative, having the right perspective is really important. And part of the narrative too is, I call it my pumping the brakes. I've got the right frame of mind, but I'm also kind of elevating my perspective on things. So often when we are into an influence situation, we tend to go a little bit tight on what we're looking for here. Raise your head and think strategically. What's going on around me? Is this the appropriate timing? Things along those lines. So having the right narrative is key. We need to create options. So as we think about, this is what I look to achieve here, I want to think about different ways we can go about doing that. Multiple ways. If you think about when we go in and we negotiate something, if we start with something small, then we're going to have a smaller piece of the pie. If we go in with something bigger, we've got more to work with. That's going to appeal to the other person and appeal to myself as well. I'll share with you that this is my hardest part because I tend to go zero in on things, and pushing it is going to help me be a lot more effective here. So here's what it looks like to really think through different options. And I always do this grid or this kind of linear line item, if you will, here to help me push this thinking. It starts with my goal. Like, what would make me happy? I'm looking for X. This is a possibility. This would be a good outcome. But I also think about what might be a very successful outcome. Like, what if I knocked it out of the park? I think about what's my least acceptable outcome. And then I think about the wiggle room in between. And the reason being is if I start with my very successful outcome, let's say I was Susan, I was going to my manager, looking for a promotion, looking for, taking on more responsibilities, compensation that goes with it. and he or she comes back with, no, we can't do that for this reason, that I come right back down to maybe a second option. Well, what about this? And then what about this? And what about this? So that I have multiple options that we can talk to. Because if I just have one thing and I leave it one and done and it didn't work out, there was a legitimate reason, then I'm starting from scratch again. But if I come prepared with these different options, then now we've got a lot of variability that we can work with. And for each one of these, I've got my talking points. Here's what I'm looking for and why. Here's what this looks like and why. And here's what this looks like and why. And what's actually behind this, there's a bit of psychology too. When you go to ask something of somebody and you start high, legitimately high, don't be crazy or whatever, but just, upper limits here. And they say no, and you bring it down a little bit. And they say no again, you bring it down a little bit. They will eventually land somewhere. And better you start it up higher so that you land even closer to your goal. This is the hard part. So we're going to play around with this a little bit. All right. So everybody catch up with me. I am on there we are. Page 6 in the learner's guide here. I'm going to put you back in your groups. And this is going to be a little bit more substantial here because I want you to actually do the linear exercise here. So here you are. You're a director of your organization, and you would like to be a key part of the strategic planning process. The Strategic Planning Committee meets quarterly and develops a plan which is delivered to the board at the board's first offsite meeting each January. The only input you've had in this process before was to provide the data. So let's say you were pulling the spreadsheets, doing the PowerPoints, you're giving it to the CFO and CEO here, both who are members of this group. But you would like to have a role in this committee. You feel like you can really help shape the destiny of the organization in your career. You've got a lot of great ideas. You have an excellent reputation within the organization, and you've been expanding your responsibilities for the past 5 years. So I want to work this muscle of thinking about different potential outcomes here. So on the bottom of page 6, I'm going to put you back in your groups. I want you to come up with different options here, right? So I'm looking for you to share with me what would be a very successful outcome, what would be a goal, what would be kind of a least acceptable. So give me different definitions of what a role in the organization might look like, a role on the committee, right? Here's flavors of it for, I'm going to present something, I'm going to be in the room. There's 100 different ways we could do this. So you come up with the options. And I'd like to see a little wiggle room too, right? So from very successful, and if I had to peel it back, here's what I'd say. And here's my goal. If I had to peel it back, here's what I'd say. So this is an exercise for us to really kind of work the muscle of thinking about something different. Big picture, I want to roll on this committee. What are all the different flavors associated with it? So what I'm going to do is put you back in your breakout rooms, okay? And I want you all to map out very successful, goal, least acceptable, and give me a little wiggle room in between, okay? I'm going to put you in your groups, and this is about some creative thinking, putting your heads together and coming up with some options, because if you come to the conversation with options, you're going to be a lot more effective. All right, I've just opened up the rooms, and off you go. Want to hear what's going on for this creative thinking. And if you think this is challenging, it is, but this is so important for you to be really effective here. So remember, we want our goal, we want a very successful, and we want a least acceptable outcome. Even think about this. Let's take that classic model of you're putting a house on the market, right? You would be happy with this. We're going to put it on at this, and what would be our least acceptable, and what's the wiggle room in between? That's the kind of classic model over there. Now let's apply it to kind of our real world here. So I asked you to think about what the goal is. All right. So anybody, do me a favor, since I can't see the teams here and everything. Somebody who's a leader of your team, share with me, what was a goal?
So the ultimate, I guess, very successful outcome for our group would have been to have a leadership role in the presentation, building it and presenting it alongside the CEO and CFO, and ultimately to affect positive change on the organization by doing that. That was the sort of super,
Beautiful.
yeah, high level.
Sup- All right. So I'm in the meeting, I'm part of the committee, and I'm presenting with all the senior executives. Love it.
Exactly.
Somebody else give me another flavor of a very successful outcome.
Hi there. We were talking about creating our very own role in the committee and just influencing it that way and just saying this is what we want to bring to the table.
Oh, so you're kind of carving it out and saying, so put a little color on that for me. Like what would that look like? You know, am I a part of a committee? Am I part of a subcommittee? Did you guys
No,
get
we would
into any of that?
yeah, we would be part of the committee. Not sure if it would be leadership. I guess depending on the committee, we would just base it off of our strengths and just say this is what we would be good at and this
Awesome.
is what we're going to do.
Love it. All right, somebody else, very successful. See, this is great. I love having a big group because we come up with so many different flavors of this. Give me another very successful one.
So our team came up with, so the goal was to become part of the planning committee, and we felt that the successful outcome would be like a potential opportunity for growth because we're now in this committee. We're the CFO, the CEO, where we just did reports before, right? They never really got to know us, you know, in a strategic way. So we're able to actually grow. And we also thought with that growth and getting to know all these leaders on this committee that we would have the potential maybe to even get into a higher position. And we would have a lot of networking opportunities with all these individuals.
Absolutely.
So
because when you're part of this committee, you're meeting with them, they're getting to know you, you're kind of highlighting your capabilities, they're going to start thinking about you. Love it. Love it. Give me another one. Go ahead.
And then the only other thing that we could think of, like the least outcome would be like our role would remain the same.
Okay. Glad you said that. All right. So one of the things I want you all to think about here is how could we improve the status quo? So if the status quo was I'm doing the PowerPoints and the spreadsheets and things like that, somebody give me a level it up a little bit more.
At least getting to attend the
There we
presentation.
go. There you go. I'm attending. I'll be a fly on the wall, but let me attend the meeting. All right. So we've got some.
We
going,
came up also with at least let us, you know, present via Zoom or something, even if you're not going to buy me dinner.
If you're not going, yeah. I'm going to be in the room and I'm presenting, so it's better than dinner, right? So I love it. So I'm actually presenting. All right, take me up a little bit. What would be a goal? What would make you like feel like, wow, I definitely moved the needle on this one? We had some very successful. We had some least acceptable. What's a goal?
How about using our strategic networking and recommending somebody for a role?
Oh, well, I have not heard that one before. That's a good one. So thinking about offering up another resource who might, absolutely. Okay. Somebody else, what's another goal?
Well, we put, being in the middle, but having a voice, having been able to make opinions, and let's say the role could be specifically on the job that I'm doing with the numbers, and how we can, give opinions and literally have a voice on that she's, with the numbers that she's providing.
So I'm providing this data. Let me be part of the conversations wrapped around this presentation, right? A, I can present it. B, keep me in the room. Let me be a participant. Let me answer the questions, that sort of thing. Let me take this data moving forward. Love it.
We said also just to sit in, to be observed, to be there, just to be present.
Yeah.
Just to sit in and be able to observe. And because once you're there, you might not want to be a part of the committee. No, but just to be there, to be present, and for your colleagues to see, oh, Sonia's here or whatever. But just to be present, I guess, would be the goal. if I can't do
Absolutely. So think about what you all did in 10 minutes here. You went from a role and gave me different flavors of it. Everything from status quo to let me be in the room to let me present to all the way up to let me say I'm part of the planning committee, I'm playing a leadership role, I'm presenting, I'm influencing things. It could be I'm going to be on a subcommittee. I've heard let me be kind of the chief operations officer for what this committee is all about throughout the course of the year. I love working with big groups like this because, if I gave you another half an hour, you'd come up with different flavors of it. But what was different here is I asked you to come up with different options. Because if you went into your manager and said, I'd like to have a role on this committee, all you're going to hear is their rebuttal of, it could be, I don't know what that would be, probably not good timing. Who knows what they might come up with, but they would only have their lens on what a role would look like versus you're coming to the table of, let me think about all these different roles here. And so let me ask you a question. Which one do we start with? When we enter into the conversation, which one do we start with?
Very successful outcome.
Bingo. Exactly. Because you're not going to go in with well, here's my goal, here's what I'd like, and got to get a positive response and say, oh, well, hey, can I up that game a little bit? Right? That's probably not going to work here. So you start with your very successful, but because you've been prepared, you're able to dial it back just a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So really nice job. This is about creating options. This is a little elbow grease thinking through this. But as I said earlier, I put pen to paper on these whenever I have a big presentation ahead of me. So think about what we're doing so far. We've got the right narrative. I thought about several different options. Now I'm getting ready to, how do I approach this? I asked you all to do this worksheet on your influencing styles. And basically you had 3 columns and I asked you to go across the row for each row, check the box, just give me 1 per row, and then just add up the total of the columns here. So do me a favor, hopefully you have that available. Do me a favor, drop in the chat box, were you predominantly an A, a B, a C, or a D on your style here? So I'm going to the chat box here. Give me an A, a B, a C, or a D. Oh, look at you all came back on that one. We got A's, we got D's, we got A's, we got D's, we got a C thrown in there. Okay, good. All right. Oh, I got you all back. I don't know what happened there. That's beautiful. So these are the different styles here. And what I want to do is kind of take you through what each one of these are about. Top line, A's. These are individuals who think very logically about things, right? Just look at the whole even statement there. It's the, I excel about thinking logically about things. So people who are of this A column, that's their natural go-to, you tend to bring facts and figures to an influencing situation, okay? By the way, there's no right or wrong with any of these. What's important is knowing your style, but more importantly, knowing the style of the other person and adapting. Column B, I walk into every situation ready to give something up. This is the bargaining style. This is you, and you go in saying, hey, I'll do X for you if you give me Y kind of thing, a bargaining style. C is what we call organizational. And organizational is kind of thinking like the big picture, like this is for the greater good of the company here, right? Think about some of the statements here. I spend a lot of time cultivating relationships, bringing people together to accomplish goals. Hey, I'm looking to have X happen because I think it's going to positively impact the organization. And column D is when you're looking for a personal connection. This is what's in it for you. So Christy and I are having a conversation. I'm looking for resources or something along those lines. Christy, here's what's in it for you to be and why I'm asking this. So it's a personal connection. It kind of is tugging at their personal motivators. So A is logical, B bargaining, C organizational, and D is the emotional approach here. If you look at it, right, here's kind of like the nutshell of it. And in your worksheet here, in your learner's guide, I kind of gave you the breakdown of it that talks about when it works and when it doesn't work. And in this exercise, here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about an individual you work with who you need to influence, who you find challenging to influence. You find it challenging to impact that other person's thought process. Has everybody got somebody in their mind thinking about that? Challenging to impact somebody's thought process? Okay. You know what could be behind it is your approach. You might be coming at it with facts and figures, and they're a person who is more of the, well, how's this going to impact the organization? You might be approaching it as, here's what it's in it for you. And they might be, I need facts and figures. Here was my aha moment on this one. I've, over the years, had to work with a lot of medical device and biotech companies, okay? They have regulatory, right, compliance kind of roles here. My personality, you've been with me for a few hours over the last month or so, is more of a big picture. I tend to have emotion and what I do. Look at it, even with me with my hand movements going on now. I tend to have, emotions going on here. When I went to regulatory and said, hey, I'd like to propose X, Y, and Z, they thought I was the devil incarnate coming to talk to them. And plus I'm in sales, right? That was my background. They looked at me like she has no credibility. It took me a few weeks to say, oh, I get it. I need to approach this differently. And I need to go in with facts and figures. And so instead of coming in that emotional, big picture kind of thing, that emotional organizational, I came in with facts and figures. Here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Here's the data behind why I'm doing this. Here's why, boom, 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 and having that. And that improved things tremendously. So adding a layer to this skill set is as you're getting ready to take these options forward to this individual here, think about what is the best way to deliver this message so that they'll actually hear things. Okay? So think about your style and think about the other person. Think about their interests, right? As we talked about the approach, right? Logical, organizational. Think about their interests. So this is just more preparation. What's important to them? Let's play around with this a little bit. Oh, let's go back to Susan. Susan and asking for her role here. What would be her manager's best interest in this conversation? Remember Susan, she's went forward for a role, for promotion and or an increase. Where do you think her boss's head was at? What were his interests? Anybody, you can raise your hand because I see you all now. Where would his head be at when she's approaching him? His interests.
Staying within the budget.
That's what I think. Money.
I got a budget.
Mm-hmm.
The timing of things, right? She's asking for this now. That budget doesn't happen until later. Blah 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 blah. Right? What else would he be thinking about, or she be thinking about?
Maybe even company not process or procedure. Like at our organization, we only promote one. We have a annual promotion period.
Yeah, there's a window of which this happens. Right? Dig into that a little bit more. What else could be? Because these are the obstacles that you need to get through.
Could somebody else also have asked for a promotion or a raise?
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. I've got 3 of these now. And now I've got to think about the promotion process. Now I got to go talk with my peers as they're all bringing theirs up. And now I've got to kind of juggle this around. Precedent could be going on. Has she not been in the role long enough? What are the rules? So we got process, we got rules, we got precedent, think about the interests of this, right? But then I'm also thinking about Erin's comment earlier about the promotion, right? When you promote people, it makes you look good as well because you're developing people. So part of his interest might be him demonstrating or she demonstrating that great developer of people because look at how they're advancing in the organization. So think about interests as well. We're building some good muscles here. We've got thinking about different options. We're thinking about how do I engage in this conversation? First thing I'm thinking about is Should I take a logical approach, organizational, right? What's going to be the best way this is going to be received? I'm going to be thinking about what are their interests as well, because those are the things that are going to help me get to a yes. Okay. And then I go into the conversation. And it's very much about kind of engaging collaboratively, right? Enter the conversation with, thinking about good intentions. Open with good open-ended questions, generate interest, talk to them a little bit, engage collaboratively, right? That's the right tone to go into these conversations. Remember earlier on, it's not just an ask and getting the yes or no, it's actually a conversation that goes on as well. And then plan your messaging. What are your opening remarks? Right? How can you set the tone to enable you to kind of talk to that very successful outcome you're looking for? What are the first things you would you would say? Don't show up. This is not a demand, right? It's a conversation. And always communicate those options as it aligns to their interests. So as you did that grid of kind of mapping some things out here, right? Be thinking about each one of those and what's in it for them. That's my go-to. In my head, as I'm mapping things out, I'm thinking, here's the win for me. What's in it for them? What's in it for them? And if you can't come up with a what's in it for them, that's a telltale sign it's going to be harder. Because that's one of the motivators. Let me pump the brakes so far. What has kind of stuck with you? What are you kind of mulling over? Do a raise of hands. What do you got? Is anything something you hadn't thought about before? Am I putting a little bit more science to it, words to it?
I would just say
So
not giving.
sometimes,
Oh, go ahead.
I was
That's
gonna say,
enough.
sometimes you don't have that established understanding of that person, and so you're flying blind as to what would motivate them and what their interests are.
Great question. So what do you do in that situation?
You have really good questions you ask right away, and
Ding,
you
ding,
prepare
ding,
for
ding, ding.
all possible personality.
Yeah, it's what's top of mind as I raise this topic, what's top of mind to you? What are your concerns, right? What are the things that are important to you? I have like 3 go-to questions that kind of enable me to get a reading for, I'm going to be able to go this way, or I'm going to go this way, or that's a new piece of information. Okay. It's a
Or
great
maybe-
point. You might not know.
Could you do maybe even do some kind of like not sneaky, but research and ask some like associated questions around it before you even.
Of course. Not sneaky. It's doing due diligence.
Yeah.
Right. And I would socialize things ahead of time. One of the things I talked about in the framework is engage some coaches. Who does work with this individual? What's important to him or her? What are the things that kind of that they will say yes to? What are the things that they're quick to say no to? That's doing your homework. Absolutely.
I think my aha or resonating moment is previous classes that we had with you guys, how we talk about imposter syndrome and feeling that we deserve or deserving of the promotion or the raise or the next level. Is this you're coming in, for me, I was like, stick with the facts, but I'm able to come in and have a conversation where I can maybe take a little bit of my insecurity out of it and just stick with the facts and say, I deserve this because.
Yeah.
But I'm prepared to have that conversation versus going in feeling insecure or as soon as I get shut down to be like, okay, or whatever. I'm going in and I'm kind of removing the emotion for myself because I'm going
really
in
good
actually,
point
or whatever.
Really good point. And when I talked about how the narrative, so you just talked about the narrative, Sonia, like what's in my head. I got to get clear on what's in my head. I'm here to solve a problem. And I'm going to take the problem out of me, put it over here. I'm going to do my homework about it. What are the facts I need? I'm going to think about, what I bring to the table. What is the impact of what I bring? I'm going to think about different options. I'm going to think about, what's important to them. I'm going to have all that. I'm going to package that up beautifully to have a great conversation with this individual. And it's all, you got it in front of you. It's just a question of kind of using the framework and doing your homework. Don't go from want to have a conversation to boop, right into the conversation. 80% of it is about getting things planned out a little bit more. Okay. All right. So what I've done in your worksheet here, I'm going to give you another homework assignment, ladies, is to map out an influence you have coming ahead here, right? So top part, what are you trying to achieve? What's your ask? Middle part, forcing you to think about their interests. What's important to them? What's important to you as it relates to whatever your ask is. Mapping out the options. Don't forget the in-between a little bit. Think about your approach, right? Back page of in your learner's guide here, I have think about your approach. And then I kind of give you some space to kind of tee up what is your messaging here? What are you proposing and why? And how does it align to what's important to them? State your business case. Think about delivering that logical, personal, organizational, right? Might be some pushback. So be prepared and think ahead of time. Susie, to your point, that little homework ahead of time, what might be some of their pushbacks? How can I be prepared for that? And be ready to respond. So as you look at this worksheet on page 9 and 10. My ask, the interests, the different options, and engaging collaboratively. Which one are you feeling light on? Which one are you feeling like, oh, I'm not quite comfortable with that yet?
I'm comfortable now.
think-
You gave me all the tools.
Prior
to this, I'm not kidding. Prior to this, I would have been like, oh, just asking itself. But I feel really good with this. Like I was like thinking, I was like,
oh, good.
I'm gonna keep blank copies of this around. Like this is great I love this.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. I don't know whether I'm just kind of old school, but I just force myself to fill in the blanks. I don't want to wing it. If I have an ask, it's important to me. I don't want to wing it, right? And having a framework, the science, where I fill in the blanks, now I feel so much more equipped to go into this conversation. I feel like my easier part is the messaging, but getting my content for the messaging is the harder part. So I got to back it up and go through my worksheet here to give me the content. Then once I see it, I'm like, bring it on. Now I'm ready. Now I know the flow of things. So here's your homework. Think about your partners that you had before. Everybody remember their partner? Okay. You're going to do an influencing. And when you meet up in Chicago, you're going to have a glass of wine, lemonade, whatever it is, coffee. Find an opportunity to kind of check in with each other. Or if you got one hot and heavy coming up quickly, meet beforehand, connect for a half an hour and kind of be your partner here. Be the poke holes in things, brainstorm with them, help them get tidier on their ask moving forward. It's always better having another voice to kind of help you think through things. Because my other voice, I'll ask them, sometimes it's Becky, to say, all right, what am I missing here? And because we're different, we all have a little bit different lens on things. So she gives me a different flavor of interests that I might not be seeing. Or she gives me some more options. And we do that back and forth with each other. Okay. All right. So homework is you've got your next influence. You got a map for it to kind of play it out here to really help you give some structure to it. So you got that going forward here. So the key takeaways, if you don't ask, you don't create an opportunity for yourself. Influence starts before the conversation, right? This is the 80% thing. Create options that align to their interests. And remember, it's not just one conversation. Not just one conversation. So do me a favor, drop in the chat box. What's the one action that you're going to take right away? So whether it's part of the framework or whatever it is, what is one option that you're going to start playing with right away? Drop it in the chat. Better understanding of styles, good. Mapping out my options. Motivators, I love it. And roles and goals. Great. I love it. Just think of that. The one thing that came top of mind today, just think about that over the next few days here and start kind of putting the layers of these muscles together here. And you're going to start finding yourself being more successful, right? This is all about how can I be a more effective influencer? How can I be more effective when I actually ask for something and getting the outcomes I'm looking for? So glad you had some great kind of takeaways here. Just grab that one and kind of keep it going. Map out your next ask, use the worksheets, tap into your partner to see if they've got any ideas here, or see each other in Chicago and tighten it up there. But it's been a delight working with you all. Wish I could be in Chicago with you, but the calendars didn't align well. But you all have been great, and I really appreciate the teamwork and giving each other ideas, and the fact that you're networking with each other, which has been awesome. So you can get a hold of my email if you need any help with your LinkedIn or any questions. Hey, I'm just an email away. Glad to help you out. But giving you 4 minutes back in your day. Lauren, do you have anything that you want to say to wrap up with anything?
Absolutely. Well, first off, Mary Alice, we just want to thank you for your time. These last 2 sessions have been so incredible. I know everybody's really been enjoying them. And thank you so much for echoing our excitement for our in-person event. It's going to be here before we know it. I am going to reach out to you all right after this call, and I will be bothering those who haven't gotten their hotel rooms booked, because I want to make sure that you get in there and get our group rate. You have my email if you need me before you hear from me. We will make sure you are set for success. We'll be sending out more details, make sure that you have all the information that you need, but we want to make sure you get into the hotel room first. So thank you again, Mary Alice, for your time. And thank you all for being on here today. It's been an amazing 4 sessions. I can't believe we're already done with the virtual component. So really looking forward to seeing you all in person. And again, you'll hear from me very soon. Let me know if you need anything before then.
Great. All right.
Thank you all. Have a
Bye,
great
everybody.
Thank you so much.
Again, Mary Alice.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.